barrage of deadly drone strikes in Ukraine this week rocked the capital of Kyiv and beyond in the latest assault from Russian forces, which Ukraine says have destroyed almost a third of the nation's power stations. Ukraine says the drones were made in Iran and supplied to Russia, a claim both Iran and Russia have denied. But now it appears more are on the way, as Reuters has learned exclusively of a weapons deal between Iran and Russia. Agreed to earlier this month, the deal would bring drones and surface-to-surface ballistic missiles from Iran to Russia as it continues its war against Ukraine. That's according to two senior Iranian officials and two Iranian diplomats, and confirmed by a Western official briefed on the matter. It's a move that is likely to infuriate the U.S. and other Western powers who see it as a breach of a 2015 UN Security Council resolution. But an Iranian diplomat speaking to Reuters rejected that assertion, saying, quote, "Where they are being used is not the seller's issue." U.S. State Department spokesman Vedant Patel said Russia was not only receiving drones from Iran, but that drone operators were also being trained there.
We will continue to take practical, aggressive steps to make these weapons sales harder, including sanctions, export control actions against any entities involved. And we have extensive tools available at our arsenal to disrupt not just Iranian arms transfers, but also to continue to hold Russia accountable for their preposterous acts in Ukraine as well.
One European diplomat said Russia was likely finding it more difficult to produce weapons for itself given the sanctions on its industrial sector, and was therefore turning to imports from partners like Iran and North Korea. But on Tuesday, NATO said it was stepping in, announcing it will soon deliver air defense systems to Ukraine to help the country counter the drone attacks. NATO chief Jens Stoltenberg called it, quote, "the most important thing NATO can do."
Vanessa Montgomery has been working Georgia elections for 7 years. She started out as a greeter and now is a poll manager in Bartow County, a predominantly Republican district an hour northwest of Atlanta.
I do it to ensure that everyone's right, who has the right to vote, they can come and do it, to ease them through the process, to make sure that they understand the process. And I do it because I like doing it. I enjoy coming out and greeting the people and interacting with them, and I just enjoy it.
But an incident in January of 2021 left Montgomery questioning whether she'd ever come back. After the polls closed in Georgia's U.S. Senate runoff, Montgomery, a retired Army officer, packed up the ballots and headed to the election headquarters with her daughter. They soon noticed they were being followed by an SUV.
So when we got up to the stop sign, the SUV was right on our tail. Like, if she would have stayed there too long, they would have hit us. And so she said, "Mom, I think they followed us." I said, "Well, okay, let's find out."
Montgomery said they were followed for about 25 minutes and nearly run off the road. She called 911 and an operator guided them to sheriff's deputies who escorted the women and the ballots to safety. Montgomery declined to file a police report, but the experience left her shaken.
Don't know the reason, don't know if it was just for intimidation. I'm sorry. It wasn't until we got home and was looking at the news that we found out exactly what was going on.
Poll workers there, and in many states former President Donald Trump lost in the election, have become the target of threats and harassment, with hundreds of incidents reported nationwide. A poll published in the spring by the Brennan Center for Justice at the New York University School of Law found 1 in 5 local election officials said they were somewhat or very unlikely to stay in their jobs through the 2024 contest. Many cited concerns about threats and political pressure.
There's been a general sense of animosity from our voters that is really beating us down.
Bartow County Election Supervisor Joseph Kirk said responding to threats has become part of the training for poll workers, but that there's a limit to what people can take.
That really does hurt with recruitment, hurt with retention, and makes what used to be a very fun process for a lot of them not as much fun anymore. They still think it's important, and they're still here, and I appreciate that, but the tone has definitely changed.
Early voting in the U.S. midterm elections began on Monday in Georgia. Montgomery thought long and hard about her decision and, against the wishes of some of her family members, chose to return.
If I allow people to intimidate me like that and take away something that I enjoy doing, they have the power over me. And if someone has the power over you, then they think they can do anything to you that they want to do. And I didn't want that to happen to me.
U.S. stocks closed higher for a second straight day on Tuesday after solid quarterly results from Goldman Sachs and Lockheed Martin lessened worries of a weak earnings season. The Dow and S&P 500 both finished more than 1% higher, while the Nasdaq gained nearly 1%. Philip Taves, CEO and lead portfolio manager of Taves Asset Management, said the market was due for a rally, but said there was likely more pain ahead.
What we're seeing today is a rally based on 3 weeks of an absolutely brutal market before this week began. We were in such oversold conditions, it's only natural that we're going to move forward here. But, we're coming into a seasonably favorable time, which is November and December. However, tomorrow is the anniversary of October 19th of 1987. And that was a day when the stock market fell north of 20% in a day, and traders absolutely lost their minds. So, I don't think we're going to have a decline tomorrow. If we do, I don't think it's going to be severe because of what we've seen in the last couple of days. But if we can get beyond that and get into the fourth quarter, we could, I think, continue the rally. However, the major caveat is that ultimately, because of valuations, because of earnings pressure, because of inflation, because of higher interest rates, we think this will turn into a bear market rally, and we think we have further to move down.
Shares of Goldman Sachs rose more than 2% after the bank reported a smaller than expected drop in quarterly profit, as a boost in net interest income cushioned the blow from a slowdown in investment banking. Lockheed Martin shot up more than 8.5% after the weapons maker posted stronger than expected quarterly revenue and maintained its 2022 revenue outlook. Stocks briefly paired gains late in the session after a report said Apple was cutting production of its iPhone 14 Plus just weeks after starting shipments, but shares rebounded with Apple ending nearly 1% higher. And finally, Netflix lost ground ahead of its earnings report, which came after the market close, but shares soared nearly 14% in extended trading as the streaming giant said it reversed subscriber losses and projected that its new ad-supported streaming option would help attract 4.5 million more subscribers by year's end.
For the first time ever, hearing aids went on sale this week at major U.S. retailers for customers without a prescription or medical exam. It's a move, advocates say, that could help tens of millions of Americans with mild to moderate hearing loss and, according to the White House, save consumers thousands of dollars. That's because these hearing aids come much cheaper than prescription brands and much easier, too. No need to even see a specialist. Michael Nadula is a pharmacist with Walgreens in Washington, D.C., where hearing aids are on sale for $799 a pair. He says it's a game changer.
Last week, you needed to go see a doctor to get your hearing evaluated, and you couldn't just go into the pharmacy and purchase a product. But right now, as of today, at Walgreens, you can just walk in and buy it. That's a Lexi hearing aid.
It's taken some time to get here. In 2017, Congress passed legislation requiring the FDA to create a category of over-the-counter hearing aids, but it was not fully implemented. Then, last year, President Joe Biden signed a broad competition executive order to move efforts along. The breakthrough came in August when the Food and Drug Administration, for the first time, approved the over-the-counter hearing aids for sale. Walgreens and Walmart have started putting them on shelves. Best Buy and CVS are soon to follow. People with severe hearing loss and children should still see a doctor.
Here's the promise I make to you and the American people. The first bill that I will send to the Congress will be to codify Roe v. Wade.
Under renewed pressure over high inflation and low approval ratings, with midterm elections fast approaching, U.S. President Joe Biden sought to rally voters around abortion rights Tuesday. He promised to sign a law to codify Roe if Democrats control the legislature next year, but that promise hinges on how Democrats do in the upcoming midterm elections, and if they can maintain control of the House and the Senate. Biden's message to voters: if you do your part, Democrats in Washington will do theirs.
We face an inflection point, one of those moments that only come around every several generations, that the decisions we make now are going to determine the future of our nation and the future of your generation for the next 30 or more years.
Biden said he would not sit by and let Republicans enact what he called extreme policies after the Supreme Court's decision nearly 4 months ago to overturn the landmark Roe v. Wade ruling, which protected a woman's right to choose.
I'm asking the American people to remember how you felt that day the extreme Dobbs decision came down.
But while Democrats aim to make abortion rights a top election issue,
you got to get out the vote. We can do this if we vote.
Recent Reuters Ipsos polling shows Americans have other things on their mind, specifically inflation. Just 8% of Americans cited the end of national abortion rights as the issue that will most influence how they vote, compared with 27% who said inflation. Biden's Democrats could lose control of the House of Representatives and possibly the Senate in the November elections, and passing a bill could be difficult even if Democrats hold on to power, especially in the Senate, where chamber rules require 60 of the 100 senators to agree on most legislation.